Might as well build
What's the choice? Okay.
All right,
That's
we're
fine.
at the new and expanded Buddy Brew. We're live. Man, this is really amazing. I've got two of the smartest people in transportation sitting next to me. To my right is Kevin Thurman with Connect Tampa Bay. To my left is Ray Shermonte, who is the Executive Director of the MPO, Executive Director of the Planning Commission, Executive Director of what else, Ray?
No, that's pretty much it, Mark.
That's all. So he's only Executive Director of two things. But we're here talking transportation. Behind me, I've got a map that we're going to be showing later, which I think is really going to excite a lot of people because it's really the future of Tampa Bay, a community where people are going to come here, vacation, start new businesses, and be able to get around without having to worry about transportation. I had some folks here a few minutes earlier who were all excited about Lyft and Sidecar and Uber, and I know told them we got to abide by the laws, we got to play by the rules, but at the same time, everyone has to recognize that the future of transportation is going their direction. The old industry that's trying to hold them back is going to have to figure out a way to cope. What do you think?
I think that we've always said that all of this comes down to options, right?
Yes.
And that means that you need to be able to combine different types of transportation. I think one of the things we're seeing is that all the studies show that the next generation doesn't just use one type of transportation. They don't just get in their car and do that and take their car through every single trip. In Tampa, you're going to have a car. We're not going to change this overnight, even by 2040. But what we need is the ability to take some trips not by car because that's what people want. Whether it's because they're going out for an evening and they want it that way, or it's because it's just more convenient to not have to park where they're going or anything like that. That's really what I think we're seeing, and that's what Uber and Sidecar give, and that's what transit gives, and that's what cycling gives, and that's the kind of focus that I would say.
Now, Ray is the Mr. Bureaucrat. We got to have a bureaucrat here. But no, Ray understands that there are processes that you have to follow and abide by in order to bring this all here. But what you're talking about is really a very complicated system that works, but it's not being controlled by any one entity. It's just lots of options and choices.
Yeah, look, our transportation system right now is controlled by any one entity. Certain aspects of it are controlled by certain entities and everything like that. And even the most successful ones in the world that we want to talk about aren't controlled by that. What we need is what you have that makes something like the World Wide Web successful, which is a basic backbone that is set up by the government, quite frankly, and where everybody can use this thing. There's a set of regulatory rules on the same side. That gives public and private options for how to get around. Our transportation system has always been a mirror of private and public. The public is the only entity that can really figure out how to build roads, but we still use cars to get around, and I think we're going to be seeing the same thing across all types of options, that we provide the infrastructure, and then there's both a mix of public and private there to be able to make that happen.
Mr. Ray.
I want to build upon what Kevin was saying about options. One of the problems we've had in our discussions of transportation in the Tampa area is that you have people that, they're for rail and against cars, or for cars and against rail. As Kevin said, we need it all. There is no silver bullet. I repeat, there is no silver bullet. There's maybe silver buckshot of a lot of different things that fit together, but it's not a bullet. So we need all of this stuff. It's not a war between different ideologies about transportation systems. We need everything, and we're way behind. We need buses, we need cars, we need rail, we need a lot of different things, and that's how we have to look at it.
But how do we get the message out? We tried in 2010 with a convoluted campaign plan that I was deeply involved with, so I take responsibility. But it was our first effort, and to your credit, you did a lot of post referendum analysis. I know that you were involved in digging into the information data as well. How do we get that message out to a public which is suspicious and skeptical of big government, but at the same time does want to move about freely?
Right. Well, I think the important, first of all, is to have a good message and then clarify what that message is to the average person. One of the things we learned from the post-referendum study is that not everybody in Hillsborough County wants the same type of transportation. As we talked about, they want options. Some of the options in the farther reaches of the county are more auto-oriented, intersection improvements, things like that. In the city where rail did pass, rail was an important component of that. So instead of giving everybody the same thing, we need to give people what they want, and we need to clearly state what it is we're giving each part of the county. Again, we learned a lot. Fairness is a big deal, whether we believe in it or not. People want to feel like they're getting whatever they're going to participate with tax dollars or public dollars, they want to feel they're getting some benefit from it. And that's what we also have to communicate in a clear way. And we should not have a lot of other complicated things going on, like detailed engineering studies of routes and things like that. It should be a basic plan of what we're going to connect.
Should we not have we were attacked last time because when we were saying, well, we're going to do such and such, the opponent said, yeah, but you don't even know what alignment. You haven't even determined specific stops. They would nail us on not being specific enough, and if we drill down too specific, we got hammered.
Right.
Well, you're never.
We need to be fairly specific, but we don't need an engineering study. I think the most important thing people want to know is what is being connected to what, by what technology. You don't have to have every stop finalized, but basically what is the system going to do in a way the average person can understand. A key thing is there's a difference between civic activists who participate in meetings and the 80% of the voters whose only participation is voting. That's the group that we have to make understand what we're doing.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, that's one of the things that I think often happens too often is that people like me or other citizens that think about this a lot, on every side of the equation, libertarian to bus riders or whatever, they focus. They're very focused on this, and I think we have to remember is we're trying to provide a transportation system for the entire county, not just the people who focus on this on a regular basis. And I think that's, to me, when we go out to people, you ask the question, how do we make this different? And I think one of the things is we focus on giving people freedom. I mean, I think one of the things that we always have, I mean, it's funny, but I think that the thing that you find is, I worked for a guy who was governor for a long time. He wasn't allowed to drive himself. He became not governor anymore, and it was one of the happiest days of his life because he got to finally get in the car, turn the key, and drive himself to the airport as he took off to go to an event. And he was the happiest guy because, cars meant freedom. Well, to the modern generation, having these different options is what they consider freedom. Right. I mean, we sit on our phones all day long, we do all this other stuff, and having that freedom to be able to say, I'm going to take an Uber to go out, I'm going to take the train in and Uber back, I'm going to drive to work, and then, take a circulator to lunch and then drive back home. I mean, having that kind of... That's what people are looking for, and we have to be able to give that to everybody in the county.
We've got Braveheart here, and shouting freedom. But what's so cool about the Braveheart mentality is that what I'm sensing amongst young people, young of mind and spirit and body, but folks love and want to thrive in an environment where there are lots of things happening and they have that freedom. And there seems to be this nexus between freedom and transportation and people who think creatively about startup companies and businesses. Mm-hmm. I noticed that there's so many people within the startup community who are saying, we want that as well. Some of us, they're on their little Macs and they want to be able to work while they're going from one spot to the next, or they want to be in a cool place like this. And I'm telling you, we're working through some of the details, so when you're watching, you'll be able to, I think, hashtag Startup Tampa Bay and ask questions. I'm trying to pull it up now, but ask them live. But I would tell you, come here, because this place is cool. They're going to blow out the back wall. It's going to be even bigger and better. And whether you're Buddy Brew or a number of other local coffee establishments, and there are a number of local coffee establishments. What's the one that just came over from St. Pete? Kawa. I went to Kawa a couple weeks ago and loaded up with some amazing bean. We're here. We're supporting all of our local establishments and businesses, and coffee is really important. But this is cool what they've got here. Yeah. But people like. You touched on freedom. It got me kind of excited. If we're going to be creative and create cool things, we need an environment that embraces freedom.
Well, and a lot of people try to take this into a Republican, Democrat, or conservative, liberal thing. I'll give you a perfect example where that is just blown out of the water, and that's Salt Lake City and Pueblo, Utah. Those places are having startups and high-tech startups through the roof, and it's all happened since they approved their transit program in that period of time. And a lot of people, they don't say, hey, you build a train, all of a sudden you're going to get a lot of startups. No, it's a symbiotic thing that they feed each other. When you have that kind of freedom to get around, and you have that kind of different kind of being able to allow people to have different kind of lifestyles, that kind of diversity makes the economy better and create more startups, which creates more demand for your transit and more support for it and different types of options, whether it be a transit or private service. And that's the kind of growth we need. I mean, when we talk about 2040, we're going to have lots of people moving here, and part of the question is, what kind of jobs are we creating when we do that? And transit is a key to making sure that they're high quality, real jobs and places like this.
Cool. Freedom is an interesting topic, and I want to talk about that. The car did symbolize freedom to the United States in the 50s and 60s, but let's be honest, guys, and this is for men over 50 who tend to cling to their cars like me. I have a 65 Impala. I love to drive it, not at rush hour. It's not free to be sitting in traffic, stop and go for an hour and a half.
Speak it, brother.
Right. I mean, let's face it, there are some trips going to the downtown of a major city with a car is not freedom. It's like an albatross around your neck. Where am I going to put it? It's so expensive to park it. You have much more freedom if you take transit and can walk around and use other options to get around than having your car in that environment. So the car's appropriate in some environments, but not all. So we want the freedom to use the right kind of technology for the right kind of part of the community and mix it all together. All you have to do is think about how many television channels we watch. There's hundreds of them instead of 3. Everything is about choice in the 21st century, and we have to face that.
How do you address the Constitution-loving, flag-embracing representatives of our community who, dating back to the Boston Tea Party, will say, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't want to pay for this system that only moves less than 3% of the people. Let's say we're talking about rail now, and you're encroaching upon my right to spend the money as I choose, and I don't want to pay for that. What do you say to them? What do you say to that crowd?
Well, 2 things I would say. One is a lot of the statistics about 3% and things like that, I frankly think aren't accurate. They've been manipulated. What you need is the rail serves certain corridors, and I can tell you in those corridors, the ridership is much higher because those are the appropriate places for rail to be. So that these statements of that it's only 2% of the total trips, every trip isn't equal. A trip to the 7-Eleven at midnight doesn't equal driving to work for an hour and a half. Yet when they calculate it, they use those type of statistics. The other thing is, that if you want to drive, we're not talking about taking any freedom away to drive. You can still drive your car, and maybe there'll be less cars on the road because other people are using transit, which give you more freedom. Yeah. Paying for something.
Will land use patterns not shift, though, as we begin to build some of these more expensive but fixed systems, which then...
Absolutely, they will. I know people don't like to talk about the streetcar, but none of the residential and channel side virtually existed until the streetcar was built. Over $1 billion worth of new residential development. We have, since the streetcar's built, we have over 5,000 units in the downtown area. Within the next couple of years, we should have 10,000 units in the downtown area. So that's changed a lot. I know the Marriott Hotel, Mayor Greco told me that they wouldn't come unless we committed to the streetcar, which was completely funded by federal dollars. And the Harbor Island People Mover being torn down provided kind of the operating for a while. So it does change land use patterns. We've seen it right here in Tampa. Certainly, we've seen it in other cities.
Well, and I think going back to to people saying that the Constitution, freedom loving, or however you want, or even quite frankly, the people who moved to the suburbs like that lifestyle want to get in their car. My response to them is that lifestyle can only be preserved over the next 20, 30 years by building things like high-capacity rail and transit and things like that. And here's the reason why. It's because when you, if we're going to get 400,000 people in this area, and statistics tell us that is going to happen no matter what we do, unless we decide to tank our economy in order to not grow as a population. And so if somebody wants to propose that as a solution,
400,000 in what time frame?
Is it 2040, Ray?
Yes.
Yeah. So
600,000 people, 400,000 jobs.
How are they going to get to Buddy Bro?
It's not going to be easy.
Parking's tough. Parking's tough now.
Well, I mean, but the thing about that is, it's not just that, but it's if you want to live in, say you live right now in Lutz, or you live right now in Riverview or Apollo Beach, which are 3 places that people who are concerned about this kind of process live. If you want that lifestyle to stay the same, the only way it's going to stay the same, only way at all, is if we can build things that allow more density in these downtown areas and in the city and in places where we already have people. Otherwise, we're going to pave over eastern Hillsborough County. I mean, Strawberry Festival is going to become why do we have one? Because we'll have built homes over a bunch of strawberry farms, because that's the only other way we're going to fit people unless we build this thing. And so to me, when you talk about doing this, what we're also doing is we're preserving ways of life for everyone across the thing. From Tono de Sasso to downtown, That is what this kind of system would be able to provide you. Otherwise, you're looking at a situation where everybody lives in the same kind of place with very busy, congested highways, strip malls everywhere entire across the county, and we don't have the rural, urban, suburban mix that we have now.
How did we get this message out? Because we did not get that message out to many members of our community who would have embraced that wholly had they really understood it. But we wait until, we're in the thick of a campaign, and then pretty soon what we're doing is throwing up TV ads, and quite frankly, I don't think people watch TV ads. I mean, or do they really, unless it's funny. I mean, my kids will watch the funny ones, and I'm struggling right now to think of the funny ones that we watch. Geico, maybe, I don't know.
Geico's good.
Yeah.
Progressive insurance.
Yeah, progressive insurance, yeah, maybe. But I mean, so how do you get that message out? I mean, connect, what are you doing?
I mean, a lot of it comes down to people to people. I mean, that's what we spend a lot of our time on doing, is that the only way you're going to be able to convince people of something on this level is if you talk to them. And so right now, since we're not looking at an election tomorrow, we're talking 2 years from now, everybody, if they're watching right now and you want to have this conversation.
And you think we're talking 2 years from now?
Yeah,
it seems like that's the sense that.
Yeah.
I talked with Gary Sasso, Carlton Fields, a wonderful man, part of the partnership, very involved in the last referendum, and he said, look, even if we got everything lined up right now, with all that we need to do and be prepared for, that March might be a little too early, we might need to look at a November.
I think November of 16 or sometime in 2016, depending on what the best timing. You don't want it to be on a ballot that's like 20 feet long and distracting people. So we need to have a conversation about when in 2016, but I think that 2016 is a good time period because there's two big reasons why. I mean, one is we need to talk to people. I mean, we need to bring this stuff to them. The other thing is that, the long-term plan is going to be, be worked on over the next year, and it's going to be complete. And then we need to take that out to people and have the conversations you're talking about. So when you asked how, we need to literally take this stuff over to people and have the conversation, because otherwise they don't spend time thinking about this. The only time people start thinking about it is if they sit in their car and they're like, I'm angry that I'm in traffic, right? And right now that's because 275 is still under construction. So we just have to make sure FDOT still has 275 under construction when we go to ballot.
A couple of things I want to point out as we're sitting here. To my left, I'm looking over at the PTC, Public Transportation Commission, and trying to figure out how on earth we're going to get that entity to work with, what is the future, which is your Uber X, your Uber, your sidecar, your Lyft. And again, we have to all abide by the rules. I'm not encouraging anyone to break the law, but I do, I have to put that in there. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we're moving forward. To my right, and if you guys could just step forward quickly, because I want to show, this is a cool place. We got amazing people here. We've got Stephanie Ashley, who is the head of the EDI2 program. EDI2 is the world-renowned, people. Guy Kawasaki, I understand, was talking about EDI2 at South by Southwest, because we had funded Startup Bus, and Mitch from Startup Bus, who's here or was here, just walked out, but he's coming back. Startup Bus got some funding from us, and a lot of other really cool programs that I was even at last night. Startup Grind, where Startup Monkey Ken Evans, and if you even pan further to the left, your left, there you is, Startup Monkey Ken Evans. We were there listening to Tony DeSisto, Jordan Rayner from Citizen Investor. You can find out more about Citizen Investor by going online, looking at Startup Grind, looking at Citizen Investor. But I mean, there's some cool things going on in this community, and what we're going to be having here at least twice a month. I hope every week, if I can, encourage the powers that be that run the show to let us do it. We're going to have it weekly, so you can come here, but you can come every day and find people like this here who have all sorts of cool information and are ready to make this place a great community to live in. So I just wanted to, now, Stephanie, we got the next round of EDI2 coming up. Is that correct?
Well, we received applications for some really exciting events. Our advisory committee is meeting on May the 8th. And then, so right now, though, applications are still available for our fourth round of funding that we're going through. Fourth round, can you believe it?
Wow.
The deadline for that one will be August the 1st. So that's the one that we're preparing for now. And it's also important to note that if events are going on, if cool things are happening, and the amount of money is small, $5,000 or under, you can apply anytime. That you don't have to go through an application cycle. So those are the types of checks we want to write.
You can write up to how much?
$5,000.
But if you want to apply,
if you were to apply, the maximum is $25,000.
So up to, I'm telling you what, these little micro investments that we're making in the startup community. I have been involved in programs that Moffitt Cancer put on, the Business of Life Sciences. They had a conference, we helped them out. You know, the Startup Grind event, we've helped that out. There was an event several weeks ago. Ken, what was that cool event at the Hackerspace in Tampa, where I went there and saw during a day.
Those are the day of events that are sponsored by Technova, or the people that put on Bar Camp. And the first one we did was called Day of UX. We had 51 people that sat there on a Saturday all day to learn about the best practices from two of the leading experts in UX, well, I should say in the country, because they fly all over the country. And actually, Justin Davis, who was one of the instructors, was in Israel last week presenting on UX. And you know, those are people that live here and live and work here every single day.
Can I tell you a story that you're going to love?
I'm going to love it. Okay, I'm already loving it.
So, and you guys will love it too. So
Someone told me I'm the dog whose tail wags real fast at everything.
PTC might not like the story, but anyway, yesterday I took UberX for the first time, and my driver moved here to Tampa about 5 months ago, and he graduated from college, decided to move from New York, and he's a programmer, and he's honing up his skills. And he's sitting there, and he's driving me, and I'm talking to him. I was like, well, have you heard of all these different things? And I literally mentioned everything from Bar Camp to, Tampa Bay Wave to, Hackerspace, everything in the entire world that he might get interested in. And I handed him my card because I was also talking about transportation. He's like, I really do love this job because I get to meet people and I find out things. And so he emailed me, and I sent him a huge list, and you guys might meet him because, we were on that UberX. And so, it's funny because when people talk about transportation, that's one of the things that makes these communities interesting, is because when you see the merging of people having these conversations and being able to connect with each other and then connect them with great organizations and great projects like this, that's what you're talking about. That's what makes the city vibrant. That's what makes it possible.
With this mayor, the city, Mayor Buckhorn, the city of Tampa, has really been, I think, supportive of this startup community. And what's cool is that you're finally now beginning to see a different type of Tampa Bay. Not that the old one was bad, but that we are, because listen, the giants of our community who helped build it up did a tremendous job. But what's cool is now we're seeing this kind of environment where a Buddy Brew and guys like, Dave Ward, who are very creative and thinking, can take a coffee concept and turn it into a meeting place, similar to what you'd see in Seattle. It's kind of Seattle-ish today, kind of overcast, But so hey, Seattle, watch out because we're on your tail. We got clouds and rain and coffee too,
and sun.
Yeah, and we get sun. We get more sun than you. But this is a cool place. This is a cool place with lots of stuff happening, and if we can find a way to embrace transportation and bring it into the conversation. And while you're talking, Ray, I want to get Ray's map, because I took Ray's map to a meeting out in the USF area, and people got really excited.
Well, what I'd like to go back to is talking about the last referendum. One of the things I think we have to understand is it's not just the plan you have, it's the confidence you have in your politicians at any given time, it's the economy. One of the two things we heard was why the referendum didn't pass was the timing was wrong because we were in the depths of a recession and they did not trust government at that time. So it's important, besides the transportation message, they have confidence in their elected officials and the timing is right, which I think we're moving into the right time.
Well, the cool thing too is and that's why I would encourage people to come, even if you're thinking about running for office, we got a lot of elected officials or want to be elected officials who are here, and I'm not being derogatory, they're excited about getting involved in the political process. And for the first time they're thinking, hey, they can be part of it. But this map, which is just, some concepts that folks have been working on, really begins to show how a Tampa Bay could be connected. Everything from, the Greenlight Pinellas, which we'll see running from downtown St. Pete to the Gateway area, with a connection between Gateway and West Shore, along what I hope will be some form of, potentially at some point in the future, light rail, but in the meantime, managed lanes with with the opportunity for individuals in their automobile or bus, BRT, to go back and forth between the largest commercial district in the southeast United States, the West Shore district, connecting to Gateway. We're second only to Atlanta when you look at the opportunities to connect between both the West Shore and Gateway. And then as you move up, You see, we can move down to our downtown area. We got the airport sitting right over here, but the connection between West Shore and downtown, we're only talking like 5 miles. I mean, so you can connect West Shore to downtown, and people who live in West Shore are living downtown. And aren't people beginning to live downtown?
Oh, in both in West Shore and downtown. Actually, that's something that's really interesting. Is that West Shore, this area here, has got thousands of people moving into it right now. This area here has got thousands of people moving in and out. But the funniest part about it is, a lot of the people, we're getting some people who live in the same area that they're working, but a lot of them are like living in West Shore because they're commuting to Gateway, and they were living up here. And the same thing is happening, that people live downtown who live in West Shore. And so this spine that right here, it's logical, right? Like, I mean, people have been traveling between, that's why we built the freeway there.
Exactly.
I mean, 275 exists. You know, I always talk about 275 going north, these circles right here. You know, we had a street called Central Avenue that was used the most, and so then the state came in the 1920s and built US 41. In 1910 or somewhere around there. They built the federal government built US 41, and then that wasn't enough, so later on we built 275. Right? And to say that we don't know where to put things is crazy. We put them exactly where we've been putting them for years. I mean, the demand is the most used traffic corridors have been here and here since we made it possible.
And as you go further north, and I'll tell you, when Busch Gardens and USF talks about their future plans for this area, and you've got the VA hospital, you've got Moffitt Cancer, you've got Pep and Heart, you've got Burt Alzheimer, 3 centers of excellence. We're unique in the nation for having 3 centers of excellence in this area here. You begin to realize that the connect point between downtown and the USF area, which is approximately 10 miles, give or take a few, is not that far either. And there are old CSX rail lines, which of course, I don't speak for CSX, they're more powerful than the United States government. They will speak for themselves, but there are lines that are not really being utilized that could potentially be there for a DMU system of some sort, which is diesel motor unit. Is it diesel?
Yeah, diesel multiple units.
Yeah, diesel multiple units, but they're just options and concepts. And then, without getting too controversial, the big block here, which shows you ultimately the opportunities to link Orlando and Tampa Bay to a thriving community.
I don't think you're controversial at all. I mean, I think that all aboard that's going from Miami to Orlando,
yes,
there is no secret that they're interested in coming here. They've said it at meetings, and if you want to prove me, if you want to understand whether I'm correct, go to the Hilton on an average weekday. Go 2 or 3 days. One of the days while you're at the Hilton, you'll see all aboard sitting in Tampa holding meetings. I mean, the truth is that that's coming.
I want to be at those meetings.
Well, I'm not in them either, so I don't really know.
This is fantastic.
But what I'm saying is, that's one of the key things is that when somebody comes from Orlando and stops here, we need to get them off. I mean, yesterday I was going to a meeting up in the northern area of the thing, and I sat behind 5 Canadian tourists, 3 separate groups of people, 5 Canadian tourists riding the bus to Busch Gardens. And honestly, the people on the bus were really nice, helping them figure out how to get off and how to get to where they're going. But in the end, it wasn't a system that was really easy for them to use. And I mean, the other side of our money is we make money off of tourism. And we will make more money off of tourism if we provide, especially foreign tourists that are a larger portion of what we're doing, the opportunity to use public transit, because they're going to use it whether it really works or not. And the question is, will they come back?
I want to kind of build upon that concept too with the tourists. My daughter got married last year, and my cousins were coming from Canada, Toronto, and Chicago, and their first question was, what kind of transit can we use to get out to your house when we get to the airport? And I said, well, unfortunately, there really isn't any that you can use. And it really made me think of how far behind we are these other cities, because it's ridiculous. They just assumed that there would be something.
Well, and
for a large city that would have some kind of transit.
And that's reality. I mean, it's not something that I think is going to convince a lot of people because we are a special place and we don't need transit to stay special. But the truth is we are one of the few cities without a robust transit system. And the question isn't, hey, do we need this transportation system to be special? No, we're always going to be amazing. We have the Bay, we have these great people. Mark has been talking about the liveliness of the area. But what transportation can do is take this great place that we live in and make it just amazing to the world, the way that the world can see, so that every visitor is like, wow, that was an amazing trip. And that's what something like a robust transportation system can give, so that it's seamless. So they're not focusing on getting from point A to point B on their trip. They're focusing on meeting people, spending money, enjoying the life that we have here, and so that people will visit and then stay, that people will visit and come back. And that's, that's really what the kind of X factor of the transportation system can add to this great place we live in.
Great.
All right. I can't think of a better way to wrap that up. We did 30 full minutes. You nailed it. And we're going to make sure that everybody watches this and we can talk about it and debate it. I know that, Connect Tampa Bay is all about getting people engaged in the conversation.
Absolutely.
I applaud the way you've been able to reach out to different, disparate parts of our community who have different opinions and begin to at least find some common links and bonds where we can all agree. But you nailed it on the economy. Ray, phenomenal job. Your maps were amazing when I took them up to the USF area, and people they're looking down and going, oh my gosh, they see it. And the potential for even more opportunity to get more people to come into the area, medical tourism, entertainment, education, it just drives the economy, and transportation helps drive that. So we're going to close for today. Come back, watch us live. We're here every Friday. There's somebody here. Every day there's somebody here. But I want you to come here. Stephanie will be here just doling out $5,000 checks. Right, Stephanie? Don't want to get you in trouble. Nah, it's government's free money. We just print it. No, actually, we don't print it. No, we balance the budget at the county. We're very conservative with our money. It's the feds that just print it. But anyway, we're here to encourage a great startup community, have great transportation. I want to thank my friends. And like I said, if you want to get involved, come here because they're always here. And you can talk with them, and touch them and ask them questions and figure out what's going on. Take care. See you next week. Happy Good Friday. That was a good one. We're going to get that one out.